rights came because he was here, you know. Actually not, but that's another story.
Was there any like difficulties you guys faced? I mean, I knew like my dad would talk about them, but like not in detail. Like difficulties while running the Puerto Rican Alliance, just because it was such a new idea. Really.
Well, the alliance was influenced by a number of different characters and different ideology. It was a Puerto Rican setting, but you had Puerto Ricans who wanted to go to school, never be involved in anything, go out and be a millionaire. And then you had Puerto Ricans who were just learning about Puerto Rico. And then you had people who didn't want to know anything about Puerto Ricans, even though they were Puerto Rican. They saw no value in it. And there were many who, you know, who really wanted to change their names from, you know, Rivera to Rivers, and from Nieves to Snow, and from, you know, how we become some other ethnicity. I am guilty of that myself, because my name was Joe King, you know, never acknowledging my Puerto Ricanism. So I'll put that on the table.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And you know, and it took a common goal. It took an aspiration to sort of say, well, why is it important? I mean, why do you want to be? Why don't you shut up? You know, hey, you could be very successful if you don't even say you're Puerto Rican. So you had all of those things. And then you had people who didn't know anything about Puerto Rican, didn't know Spanish, didn't you know, never had rice and beans, or, you know, all those things that we equate with being Puerto Rican. And when they came, and there was a lot of them, because this was a school that was very picky. Brooklyn College was very picky about their students.
They still are.
They still, okay. Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, 2 years later or so, when we said we want a department, we took over the president's office. The president looked us in the face and said, "You don't have enough Puerto Ricans that are qualified to come in here." We said, "Are you crazy?" I mean, he told us that. I mean, he believed it. And I don't know where he was from. I don't think he was a native New Yorker. Not that it makes any difference, but he believed it. So we went out and found him hundreds of Puerto Ricans who were foreign students in various schools in Brooklyn and in Staten Island, etc., etc. We went out and formed a search group specifically for that, and started connecting with the guidance officers and the teachers. There were very few Puerto Rican teachers, very few guys. Oh man, you have to. It was like digging for gold, you know, trying to find them out there. But you know, every once in a while, we hit one, and then we talked to them, and they would be able to identify who the students were, and they did. And you know, they said, "Here's the names," and then they connected us with another teacher in another school. You know, because we were so few, it was very easy to say, yeah, there goes one, you know. So they were able to give us the information, and we would follow up. But we came back. We first got the applications from the school and had all those students. The president apologized for that statement.
Really?
He really did. He really did. He apologized. He didn't realize. He didn't have a sense of Puerto Rican. You know, very few people had any sense of Puerto Ricans. You know, other than what the daily news was saying and the nightly news, and you know, Puerto Rican in a gang, and Puerto Rican gets shot, and Puerto Rican hits a bank, and so on and so forth. That was the interest about Puerto Rican. But in terms of, you know, so you know, needless to say, Puerto Ricans who didn't meet that profile, they didn't want to have anything to do with those kind of Puerto Ricans. As a matter of fact, they didn't want to have anything to do with anybody who was involved in that kind of lifestyle. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough information about themselves to say, you know, all Puerto Ricans are not doing that. You know, that is not the typical. That is not the typical image of Puerto Rico. Very few people had anything to do to know about Puerto Rico. And then I think there was a program where they started taking teachers to Puerto Rico so that they could, get next to the island and see that we weren't wearing horns, that we weren't wearing bones through our nose, and running around naked. So, you guys are as civilized as we are. But it took those kinds of efforts. Some of it was very elementary, and Freddie was in all of that.